Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be going over for loops, which are essentially the sister iterator of a while loop. In the last video we went over while loop, and this is the exact one that we constructed. In this video we're going to accomplish the same task of printing out the value of I by saying I is as I is 0 and approaches 10, which should give us 9. So in order to do this with a for loop, we're going to be doing something very similar. However, we're not going to be defining our variable outside of the loop, which is one of the reasons that for loops are so much more commonly used and powerful, in my opinion, than while loops. So let's delete this and start with our for loop. So a for loop is going to start with your declaration and assignment of a variable. Your variable can be declared outside of your for loop, which means that you would just say int I semicolon instead of actually writing out what it's equal to. But in this case we're going to declare our integer I and actually assign it equal to 0 within this for loop, or within the declaration of the for loop, I guess. So right here we have for integer I equals 0 semicolon I is less than 10 semicolon I plus plus. Now these are the three sections of a for loop. You have your assignment and variable declarations, your Boolean statement, or Boolean statements. I'll show you in a little bit how we can actually add more than one variable and more than one statement into here. And then you have your incrementer, or kind of what you use to finish up your for loop. In this case we're using I++ because we want to increment I. So again, you're going to create your body of your for loop with a left bracket and a right bracket. And in here we're just going to simply say system.out.println I is colon, and then just like we did in the last video, add I to the end of this. Now when we run this, save, yes, okay, and we look at our output, you'll see that we have I is 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 9, just as, or my bad, I is 0 up to 9, just as we had in the last video. Now, I said earlier that you could actually create more variables and more Boolean statements in here, and you can. It's actually very cool. This is another reason why for loops are so much more powerful than while loops. And in our next video, I'll show you something we call an enhanced for loop. So let's go up here in declarations, and at the end of the 0, instead of a semicolon, say a comma and say int j equals 0 as well. Or my bad, not int j, just j equals 0. What this will do is create two new variables for us, both I and j, that are integers, and assign them equal to 0. We can actually assign j, let's say, to 5, and we have our assignments here. Now if we go over here, after our I is less than 10, and say j is less than 10, or my bad, it's not a comma, and j is less than 10, semicolon, comma, j++. This will actually say I is equal to 0, j is equal to 5, for as long as I is less than 10 and j is less than 10, go through this loop, and at the end of every revolution of this loop, so every time it gets to the end of this, add 1 to I and add 1 to j. So in this case we should actually stop much closer, or much sooner than we did when we just had I, now that j is equal to 5. So let's rerun this, and we get I is 0, I is 1, 2, 3, and 4, as we should expect, as we made j much larger than I and stop at the same point as I would. If we put it up to 5, and let's just for the heck of it also print out the output of j, lag, okay, out.println j is j, print this out, or we'll run the program, and we get I is 0, j is 5, I is 1, j is 6, yada yada, all the way up until I is 9 and j is 14. So that are the basics of a for loop. You can use these things to do pretty much anything you want, and I'll show you guys how to actually iterate through sets of numbers later on with a for loop, which makes things much easier to process using these. You can do the same things using while loops that you do in for loops, but a for loop is structured to iterate through sets in a much more simplistic way than a while loop is, as a while loop just checks for a boolean and keeps continuing until that's false. So the incrementation we did here and the assignment here would not actually go into a while loop. And when we get into enhanced for loops, as I said, iterating through a set, you'll see something that while loops can actually not do. Anyways, that's been my video on for loops. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. You can also PM me any questions that you would like. I do answer everything, so go ahead and do it. I'm not someone who just tells you to comment or whatever and never gets back to you. I will reply to them. If you want to see my future videos, subscribe. If you like this one, like it. If you really want to help me out, please favorite it, or visit my website at www.lawofcode.com. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.